Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wakelet Community Week session. Of course, we're in day 4. We're almost at the end of today, which is quite sad, but we've had such an amazing day so far, and we've also got a couple of sessions after this too. But before we get started with this amazing session, I'd love to know where you're joining us from in the world. I know people have been on for quite a few sessions today. Some have been, I recognize names actually from a lot of sessions. So let me know, is this your first session of the day? Are you joining us for the first time, or have you been here since the start? And of course, let us know where you're joining from in the world. It's great for me to see, the team to see, but also the speakers as well. So I can see a few people here. We got Hey Lourdes from Portugal. We have Cheryl there from Atlanta, Georgia. Marit, I've seen you on quite a few sessions today from Finland. We got Jessica from Texas there. Uchalika, hopefully I pronounced that right, from Croatia. We've got Shamal there too. There's Brandy, welcome. Welcome all. Vitaly there from Ukraine as well. Welcome all to this session. Of course, before we get started, I need to do the house rules. Your certificates will be shared in the chat. So at the end of the session, I'll drop in a form. That's where you can get the certificates, and you'll get links to our speakers and their resources that they share. And as mentioned in all previous sessions, we do have a competition going on. So anything that you like from this session, anything you want to share beyond on social, please do. Just tag @Wakelet and use the hashtag Wakelet Community Week, and that will enter you into our competition for some VR headsets, some exclusive Wakelet swag, and some daily gift vouchers too. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to our first speaker of this session. I'd love to introduce you to Bria from Bulb. Hey, Bria.
Hi, everyone. James, thanks so much for having us. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully you guys got a chance to watch Wakelet Live earlier in the week. James and his team did such a great job. And hopefully you also heard the big news that Bulb Digital Portfolios is now a part of the Wakelet family. And I've been a part of Bulb Portfolios for about 9 years now. And we are so excited to join the Wakelet team. And so I had an opportunity to bring some of my great education leaders who have been implementing portfolios in their district for over 6 years. And we're going to be able to just have a conversation and share some of the process that they went through, some of the best tips that they have for implementing portfolios from an individual classroom all the way up throughout an entire district. So I'm really excited to bring in Nancy and Amanda. And they are from Coppell ISD. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Amanda. Amanda Mask leads and is the director of digital learning at Coppell ISD. That's in the Dallas area in Texas. And Nancy Garvey is the director of professional learning there at Coppell ISD as well. So Amanda, Nancy, we're so excited to have you. And I'm going to let you kind of kick it off and talk to us about what you guys have been doing in your district with digital portfolios.
Sure. So Bria, would you like me just to start from the beginning? It's like how we got here, like where?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So a few years ago, in fact, a funny story, I used to have the role that Amanda has now. And so I helped lead the decision-making and implementation of digital portfolios in our school district. And with that came a lot of like real intentional work before we even got started. We really wanted to make sure that we had spent time with our staff learning what they wanted in a portfolio system and learning about like what was really important to them. So we brought together a committee of folks all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. We had teachers, we had administrative staff, we had technology folks, the ones that were going to help us implement it. And we brought them all into a room, and we first started with, we weren't looking at specific platforms. We just wanted to hear what they wanted in a digital portfolio. And so we've spent a lot of time thinking about a purpose statement as to like, why are we even doing this? Like we want to make sure we calibrated on why before we even decided what. And so we spent a long time working on a purpose statement, and it really circled around. I'm not going to read it to you because it's long, but it's important. And it was important work for us to calibrate. And it really came around curating, documenting the learning process, and really thinking about how we can show progression of learning and show growth. And so that was the big thing. But then we also had teachers who teach kindergartners who are 5 years old to teachers in the same room who teach 17-year-olds. And the purpose of it is the same, right? We're documenting growth, we're documenting the process, we're helping learners learn how to curate. But what's being curated at kindergarten versus what's being curated at 12th grade just looks really different. But we wanted a systemic plan so that as our kids learned and grew, they were doing the right thing. So we came up with our top 10, CISD top 10, and we wanted to know what was really important after we came up with our purpose. And then we evaluated, and Amanda can speak a little bit to the evaluation process around, we had a big spreadsheet and we just wrote down all the things that we felt like were really important. Our top 10 were at the top, and then the other things. And then the digital learning team spent a long time kind of going through each of the digital portfolio platforms that are around and kind of just checked off whether they did it or not.
Nancy, when you guys were looking at that vision and that why statement, which is so important, like if you're going to implement something new into the classroom, understanding what your intentions are and making that clear across the staff, I know is so important. Was that related at all to like a strategic initiative or your portrait of a graduate, or did those kind of align? Was portfolio something that was bringing all that together?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to figure out another way to say what you just said, but yes, it was part of our, we had like a learner profile that we had created and really talked about like what we wanted our kids to look like, sound like, feel like, and know before they left. And one of the things was being able to communicate who they are, what they're passionate about, and their learning process, and be able to create that space. And so we were looking for a digital portfolio. It was part of our district improvement plan and things like that. But like you said, like the big thing for us was making sure we were calibrated across the district in why we were doing this before we even talked about what we would use.
Yeah, that's great. So you guys took it to committee and you started kind of evaluating the tools based on that why process. Amanda, was there any like aha moments through that evaluation process that you go, oh, this really worked well in terms of getting input, or something that you would share with the audience to say, this was a great thing that we did that would have helped us decide on the right tool?
Yeah, echoing what Nancy said, I just think having all of the voices from that committee was so powerful in coming up with those like non-negotiable, these are super important pieces based on that purpose statement and that vision that we really have for digital portfolios within our district. And just throughout the process, being intentional and continuing to bring in other people that we could partner with, be it surrounding districts that had already started their journey in digital portfolios, being able to partner with them, learn from them, and then also just being intentional in bringing in various vendors to hear firsthand from them and actually be able to see the different digital portfolio platforms that were available to us is such an important part of the process when we were making this decision.
Yeah, that's so great. I love that you mentioned like collaborating with those neighbor districts. And I would say for teachers and leaders in education, like reaching out. This is why this community week is so important to the education sector, because there's learning that comes from here. And hopefully you guys are connecting with different people that are showing up on these sessions and reaching out because there is such a vast experience. So I love that. And I love that you mentioned too, that vendors can be a really great resource. So Wakelet and Bulb and other vendors that you work with, you know, we get a chance to work with a lot of different schools and have a lot of learning that we get to share with you. So lean into them and work and partner with them and find the right vendors that want to be true partners with you, I think is a great point. So thanks for sharing that, Amanda. All right. So you guys, you went through committee, you finally decided Bold Portfolios was really the right platform for you guys in terms of your vision of what you were trying to do. Nancy and Amanda, why don't you guys talk a little bit about what did rollout look like and what went really well and what maybe learning did you have after that where you go, oh, that's something that we might have done differently that might have worked a little bit better if we would have known?
Well, that's a great question. So I'll say I'm smiling. We were both smiling because I do think that there was a lot of learning curve that we hit with it. So we were super excited about Bulb and we were super excited about digital portfolios, and we went gung ho. Like when I say gung ho, I mean August 2018, we had 2 days to train 1,200 people. And so we just made sure that everybody knew about it. They went through a 3-hour session. We had librarians, we had digital learning coaches. Bria, you were there with some of your team, and we hit the ground running. And what we tried to do, the thing I liked that we did is that we started with the why with everybody too. So yeah, we did that with our group, right? Our core district group. And I do want to say that if you are thinking through this, don't just pick all your positive technology people, because sometimes that can run in a district where they're like, oh, well, of course they like it, right? You really want to think about making sure that the people on the team are calibrated, but also from very different viewpoints, from, like I said, the age range, but like also the people, like they are comfortable with technology, super comfortable with technology. Someone that's like, I don't know if I like this or not, because if you can get the, I don't know if I like this or not, also as excited as everybody else, that goes a long way with other people. So sorry, I wanted to say that part, but I would say what we did well was we did the why, just like we did with the committee, with everybody. We sat down and read articles about why it's important that our kids reflect on their growth. We read art. We talked about like different things that are going to happen. We did it by grade level, so they were able to talk to each other based off of their level, instead of just putting random people in the rooms, and really diving into like what this could look like. I know I really liked that. Amanda, were there things that you liked about the way we rolled out?
Yes, I would say in addition to building that why, which I feel like was so foundational and essential for the success of the use of digital portfolios in our district throughout these last 6 years, being intentional in creating some templates that we were able to create and share. One of the things that I love about Bulb, if you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, I highly encourage you to do so, but you have the flexibility to create your portfolio exactly as you envision it, starting with absolutely nothing and building your pages, or you have the ability to create and provide templates as well. So as we got started, those templates were really helpful for our educators, for our learners, and thinking about what are some things that maybe I should consider and have my learners include in their portfolios. And we also had our educators using Bulb digital portfolios to showcase their own growth as well within their professional goals. And so that was really important. And again, those templates were key as we really started to roll out the platform across the district.
Yeah, those are such great points. I feel like one of the things that, or two of the things really that stand out to me in terms of how successful you guys were, one was back to that vision that Nancy, you were talking about. You got your leadership to record a video. You talked about that vision that was shared, not just at the very first introduction, but I think the important thing too is like to revisit that vision often. And I feel like you guys have done that in a variety of ways over the years, recalibrated people every year to be like, remember what our vision is. Oh, this was a challenging year, but we're kind of going back and we're making adjustments we've learned. And so that's something you guys have, I felt like, have done super well. And then Amanda, what you were talking about, I think really mattered into making the success where the educators themselves were keeping their own portfolios. So they were modeling for their students that a portfolio is something that's for life, right? That as a professional, keeping your own learning, reflecting, being able to showcase your accomplishments and all those pieces is a skill that takes you all into your professional career. And so having those teachers do that not only helped be them comfortable in the platform, but also really attached to the vision to go, yep, this is important for me. Now I really envision that importance for my students as well. And so, Amanda, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about what you guys have done with teachers and portfolios and kind of expectations and how you rolled that out, because I think that's something that's really unique that's played a lot into your success.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. So as I briefly mentioned, we have our educators also keep their own professional goals within their digital portfolio. And this is a space not only for them to showcase some of their best lessons or things that they're just really proud of as an educator, but also the opportunity really to reflect and showcase their growth throughout the year as they're really thinking about that professional growth, that professional goal. So I think having all of our educators, just like Bria said, dive in there and have experience with their own portfolio was super essential in them feeling comfortable and confident, and also really understanding the purpose and why when asking their learners to create their own digital portfolio as well. We have digital learning coaches in our district who play an essential part, honestly, when you're thinking about building that educator capacity and really providing that continued support in the use of digital portfolios and being intentional and following back up. But it's been really amazing just to see our own educators' portfolios. And now with the new, I say new feature, it's not that new anymore, but the resume feature within Hold 2, we see many educators leveraging the resume feature just to kind of continue to showcase their professional journey and the different things that they've done within the district or potentially in other districts as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that if I could, Bria. I would say another thing that, and Amanda, we talked a little bit about it, but then I forgot to mention it again, is that we model not only like from the teacher perspective, but like we're using it in professional learning as well. Like we try to model what that could look like in their classroom for them when they are learning. And so we've tried really hard to create those templates like Amanda was talking about that they would use, like, for example, at February PL Day, we, not this one, but the one prior, I forgot actually, well, it's a long story, it's fine. Last year we did it where we created a reflection so that every session they had like kind of a blank slate and they were able to put in any of the screenshots they took or things that they were taking, and created those opportunities for them to kind of see their own learning growing. And then that became part of their portfolio. And they saw, oh, like I can help assist and kind of scaffold that learning. One of the things we haven't talked about yet, and I've noticed in the chat, there's a lot of friends who maybe are brand new to Bulb. And I would like to say that one of the reasons why we chose it, which I forgot to talk about earlier, is that it really is what you want it to be. It's a blank, not blank. It is. It's a blank slate, but it focuses you in on very specific buttons that add very specific things and allow you to put together your thoughts and keep the content focused. And then it creates this very beautiful, it looks like you have worked on it for hours and hours and hours, and you really just added in your content, and it makes it look beautiful the way that they've got it set up. Like it's like you add a banner image and then you add in your information and your content, and then it just creates this beautiful web page specifically. And when you think about students using it, you have kindergartners and you have 17-year-olds. And I know I've talked about this like 100 times, but you can have kids that are as young as kindergarten adding in content, screenshots that they've taken, pictures of themselves, a picture of some work that they did or their first handwriting. And I'll get all emotional because my daughter has one, and is the most wonderful thing as a parent to go and see their work. And I don't know about you guys, but if you have children that bring home 100 pieces of paper from kindergarten and first grade and second grade, you're like, it's so cute and I want to keep it, but I also don't have 17 boxes to house all the paper. Well, what we do at our house is we take pictures of some of the things that maybe don't make it into the portfolio that she's creating at school. And I just create pages, and I cannot tell you how many times that my daughter and I have sat down and gone back over her learning where she's like, I didn't know how to write that. And I was like, no, girl, you didn't know how to write anything. And she's like, well, I know now. And I was like, I know you do. And it's like their little brains don't it's like when you ride a bike, you don't remember learning how to ride a bike, but that process was so important to what you're doing. And so I just think that Bulb is so beautiful because it allows kindergartners to create and 17-year-olds to create, and it looks beautiful from all the perspectives. And I just think that is amazing. And I think I've gone off topic, so I'm sorry.
No, I do think that's great. I think that's a really important piece of the portfolio. A lot of times people think about portfolio as that like outward showcase. Hey, I'm sharing it with everyone else. But one of the things I've experienced in working with portfolios and with kids and adults is that there's probably as equally or maybe more intrinsic value, that metacognition that we talk about, that deeper learning, that reflective learning, being able to go back and go, oh, I did put a lot of work into that. And now I'm here. And now that seems so easy. Or, oh my gosh, I'm starting to see a pattern or a thread of things that I'm really leaning into. And I'm really kind of maybe exploring some of my passions and being able to see that because I do these kinds of projects, or like I've really improved in this area. And so that's one of the things I talk a lot about with schools, especially ones that are looking at implementing portfolios at elementary and middle and high school. A lot of them are going, oh, our portfolios just to get into college or get a scholarship. Well, no, there's so much there in terms of that learning, growth, and reflection. And in the same way, you're scaffolding the ability to be able to tell your story. And I think if all of us asked ourselves, how easy is it for us to tell our story? Like, that's a skill that needs to be developed over time. So if you're developing that mindset from an early age, I think that's what you guys are doing in Coppell, is you have those kindergartners that are starting that mindset of, I'm celebrating my growth, I'm documenting, I'm telling my story, and I'm learning about myself. And I think that's really powerful.
I agree. And like you said, like just even reminding them that they are learning. And this is another thing, and I promised to get off my soapbox, but my son is dyslexic and he is very competitive as well. And so he always feels like he'll come home and be like, well, I don't know as much as so-and-so, or I can't do it like so-and-so can. And this is a non-school example, but he went to a rock climbing camp with a buddy of his who was very athletic and had been climbing with his uncle for a long time. So the first day, that little guy's all the way up to the top. And Braden was scared. He doesn't like heights, all the things. So he climbed up maybe like 2. And my friend had recorded him. And then I got to go back on the 5th day and I got to record him again. And he didn't go all the way to the top, but he went up like maybe 2/3 of the way and he came down. He was so mad at himself. And I was like, why are you mad? And he goes, well, I didn't make it up to the bell like Jay did. And I said, let me show you something. And I made a little thing, and I'd actually put it on his bulb, but it was a video comparison of him going the first time on day 1 and what he did on day 5. And he was like, oh, I did learn a lot. And I was like, you did. So like, you need to compare yourself to yourself, not comparing yourself to somebody else. And so I just say that to say this creates that opportunity for kids to see their own growth and not compare themselves to somebody else's growth.
Yeah, that's so key. I absolutely love that. And I think portfolios, bringing in things that are academic and things outside of those classroom walls, also helps create that ownership of learning, and that students recognize that those experiences on the rock wall and everything else that are amazing things our kids do in and outside the classroom all kind of come together to tell their story. So we could probably talk for another multiple hours because I love talking with you guys. But before we kind of get to questions, I just want you guys to quickly think about, if you have a classroom teacher or an education leader who's thinking about bringing portfolios into their classroom or their district, is there 1 or 2 pieces of advice or tips that you would give them to say, this is really important, I think you should consider this? Big, small?
Amanda, do you want to go first? Because I talk a lot.
No, I think that's a great question. And again, I think just figuring out your why, so it doesn't just feel like, oh, I'm doing this just to like check the box and say I put something in my portfolio, but really what is that why, and thinking about how you can use that intentionally. We've seen some educators doing amazing things with their portfolios to really bring that intentionality when thinking about students setting their own goals and leading learner-led conferences with their parents. Like, there's been some powerful things, and we've really seen kids have ownership of their learning as a result of the intentional use of portfolios. So I would encourage them just to take a minute and consider your why and find that, and let that kind of root you in like the way that you design and set up your portfolio. And I get goosebumps every year at the end of the year when I get to see the kids' portfolios and just reflect with them on where they started and their learning journey. And it truly is so powerful. So I encourage you to dive in, to explore portfolios. And like I said, that student ownership that it fosters is truly amazing.
And I would say one of the things we talk to our teachers a lot about is, I know it says the word digital portfolio, but it's not just about saving and curating digital work, and that there's a lot of power in taking pictures of things that have been completed, or a video of yourself doing something. We spend a lot of time, even in PE, and talking to our PE teachers about how kids can record themselves learning how to jump rope, and recording little snippets that go in of them doing something specific. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I made this keynote, or this Google Slides presentation can be embedded, which that is all great. But we try to encourage our teachers to think about it as tracking growth and not about digital things going in a portfolio, and that you can literally look at this from all perspectives. Every kid's learning can be tracked in a digital portfolio through a camera, through digital images and things like that of real work and things that are happening. And I think that part is so cool. When we can hit a kindergarten teacher like, oh, my kids aren't really ready for technology yet. Well, that's okay. Let's take a picture of their work. And then if you are in the younger ages, don't forget about your 4th and 5th graders that might like a buddy class that can also help with those types of things if that is the scary part. But really, the heart of it is, how do you show kids that they're growing, and how do kids reflect on growth so that they can continue learning?
Yeah, those are great tips. I love it. And if we have any questions, please join, add them to the chat. I think my tip, I would say, is a lot of times people who want to start portfolios, they think about, oh, well, like I have all these things I need to put in, and they get super overwhelmed of like, oh, but I got to go find that and find this. And I would say start where you are today. So when you're thinking about, if you're in the classroom right now, or you're getting ready for the school year in the fall, like what's that first thing that you want to start with and start growing towards the future? And then you might have time to swing back and be able to add some previous stuff in, but don't let that keep you from taking that first step and starting that portfolio. I always see starting a portfolio with an About Me page is the kids love it. They have a lot of fun. It gives them a lot of freedom. It creates a lot of ownership. And what is so exciting to me is when those kids are editing that About Me page over the years, to be able to see how much that's changed as well. That gets really exciting. So that would be my tip. James, do we have any questions or anything that the audience wants to hear from us?
Yeah, there's been a lot of great comments. Loving how you implemented Bulb across the district. One question that came up before was, I'm trying to think back to it, when you spoke a lot about the outcomes and like all the great things that come with portfolios, about the reflection piece and student ownership. I suppose the question would be, at the start when you were creating those check boxes, what was, I don't know, the one thing or the bits that you thought, okay, we need to do X, Y, and Z, and the portfolio is the solution?
Nancy, do you remember the specifics on our list?
I do not remember the specifics, but while the question was being asked, my heart went to one of the things was easy way to document learning. And so I think, and again, I went back to that like K through, we have 5-year-olds and 17-year-olds, but really it doesn't matter how old you are, and teachers alike, it had to be easy to document the learning. It had to be something that was fluid. It had to be something where they could just click a button and go. And I think when we walked through all the different platforms, what surfaced with Bulb was just how it could be used with a 5-year-old and a 17-year-old. And it didn't, we had other platforms that like, if we had gone with it, our 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds would have been able to use it. But then our seniors would have felt like it was too babyish. And it was like one of those things where like, we just wanted to make sure that everybody was going to be comfortable and that it wasn't going to be about the portfolio. It was going to be about the learning. So that was the big thing that came out. Do you have something else, Amanda?
Yeah, another piece I remember too is just ensuring that everyone had opportunity to share their voice in a variety of ways. And many of the platforms were maybe great at having a space for kids to write their thoughts, but really it was important to us that we had variety and options in media. So it was so important to us, and Bulb really fit the bill when you considered like they had room to upload videos, to record videos directly in, to draw directly in the platform, add audio recording. So it really just had that variety to give our students lots of options to reflect and showcase their learning.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. Sorry for the question. I know you had to cast your mind back a few years then.
Okay. I also don't want to talk too much, so I was just checking to see if Amanda wanted to go first.
No, it's all good. No, that's absolutely great. Please, any more questions, please do add them to the chat. A few questions before. I don't want to put you on the spot, Bria, but a few people are asking for examples of kind of what a Bulb digital portfolio resume looks like. Is that something you could show now, or we could share in the chat?
Yeah, I can do both. And I would also encourage you guys to go to our website, which is my.bulbapp.com. And it is we have tons and tons of options available on there to be able to see as well. And then let me just present my, sorry, I was gonna, here we go. Okay, so we have 1 minute, so you can see it quickly here, but we have Darrell here, and these tiles here are his different collections and the way that he has organized his work. And you can come in here under his academics, and you're able to see all of his different classes. If I open up engineering, and I know I'm going fast, so again, our website has tons of examples that you can go explore. But you can see how a project is documented on here with pictures and images. You can bring in videos and audio files. And always my favorite when it comes to portfolios is that voice of the project, that reflection. What was it about the project that made it worthy of putting in my portfolio? What did I learn from it? And then I encourage you guys to check out our resume feature. So our resume ties that portfolio in with a CV or resume outlook. So you normally would have your experience written in your CV or your resume, and now you can tie in examples directly from your portfolio. So if I was viewing this as Darrell's and he sent it to me, I could go and look at a piece of writing that he did for his newspaper class, and I could see his volunteering and his job practica for his career in technology culinary work that he has done. And so all of these tiles connect to pieces from the portfolio and create this really intriguing, dynamic digital resume. And I am happy to give anyone a demo, and you can go over. If you guys are interested in Bulb, you guys can reach out to me at bria@bulbapp.com, and I would be happy to walk you through a personal demo as well.
Amazing. Thank you. That's a great kind of ending and summary to everything that's been shared. Obviously, you've talked us through why you picked a portfolio, why you picked Bulb out of those portfolios, and then I suppose the success that you've had with Bulb over the years, and then Bria there showing an example of one. I think is perfect way to kind of summarize and end the session. So again, Amanda, Nancy, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you can go back and check the comments. A lot of nice comments there. Please do feel free to drop your social handles into the chat as well. People would love to kind of follow you and follow your story. And Bria, thanks again for jumping on and showing everyone through Bulb there. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having us, James. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Nancy, Amanda.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, wow. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that just as much as I did. Like I said, I think it's really great to see the full process of how a district has successfully picked and implemented a platform that is Bulb. So if you want to check that out, as Bria said, I dropped the example in that Bria showed there, but of course, there's so many more examples of resumes and portfolios inside the Bulb platform. So what's best is we do a follow-up session with Bria, and we'll invite you all along to that to see a bit more around the features and how it can be used, how you can use the platform. But for now, that session with Amanda and Nancy. Again, thank you so much for jumping on. We appreciate you joining this session, and we have 2 more sessions to come. Of course, like I said, anything that you find interesting from these sessions that you want to share around, please do share on social using @Wakelet and the hashtag Wakelet Community Week. You'll be entered into the prize draw for those VR headsets and the Community Week swag, along with some daily vouchers and gift cards too. Before I jump off, a huge thank you to the sponsors that are making this week happen. ClassLink, Lumio, Canva, ScreenPal, and of course Factory International, which you'll recognize from Wakelet Live if you watch that. They're making this week happen. We really appreciate them for doing so. And as I mentioned, there's 2 more sessions to come today, which will be the end of day 4. We have an amazing session. Well, we're actually heading into the theme of Wakelet, the future education. We have a Web3 session coming up in just under 30 minutes. And then later on in the evening today, we have the future of education panel discussion, where we have admins from a variety of districts, small to large, to very large, talking about what they think the future of education looks like. And again, it's a panel discussion that they're sharing their opinions, their thoughts, and it's a chance for you to jump in the chat and ask any questions to them. So look out for that one. It's going to be a great session. Next up is the Web3. And for now, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.